Hi, my name is Kylie McCluskey, and I'm going to discuss men in nursing as my topic. For my overview, I'm going to talk about why I selected this topic, the barriers and concerns, my research articles, healthcare leader interview, and my conclusion. I chose this topic for many reasons. However, I'm going to start off in discussing my experience in working with male nurses. When I worked at a nursing home, I did not work with any male nurses. There was not one. However, when I switched positions and started working at Methodist Hospital, I noticed that there were quite a few male nurses and ones that I have worked with. I float around the hospital, so I've worked on every floor and I go wherever they need me. And one thing from this is that I've noticed that there are a lot of male nurses on the ICU floor and the cardiac floor. However, there are no male nurses on the oncology floor and the ACE floor. So that's interesting. I also decided to do this topic because I feel it is though a very prevalent issue, and it is a growing issue because there are a growing number of men that are entering the nursing field because of course the medical field is something that will never just go away. So we are seeing more and more diversity in the field. What I had hoped to learn through this topic is the reasoning behind the barriers and what different systems are doing about it. So what are the barriers and the concerns within the medical field and specifically men in nursing? So the lack of diversity in the workplace, obviously there's men or women. There are more women than men. However, we are expecting that to change soon. The sexual stereotyping, and for this specifically, I have an example, and it is, we have a group of elementary school kids, and we ask them what they see when they hear the word nurse, and a lot of them are going to say, a girl who wears white who saves lives. Now, that's from my experience of asking kids, because I used to work with kids, and I've asked families, their children, and they've all said woman. However, let's say for the kids that have a dad and their position is a nurse, so they have a dad who's a nurse, and obviously they can say men because they know they have that understanding, but a lot of them view it as a woman. Moving forward, another thing is a lot of people think that men are incapable of caring for people like women are, which is not the case. Caring is something that we learn growing up, and if we have it, then we should be able to use it, and that obviously that includes men, and that I think that is important because men are capable of caring just as much as women are. There really is no difference other than their gender. Now, for exclusion specifically, I wanted to talk about rotations and nursing school. So, for example, I had a student in my class who he was in my clinical group, and he actually experienced an exclusion from a patient who was in labor and delivery, and that patient did not want him in the room because he was a man. And obviously we respected that. They switched him to a different person, but it just shows the exclusion there. And through the articles that I will discuss next, I also read that a lot of male nurses even wrote that they felt excluded specifically through that rotation. So my research articles here, I've listed my 3. I've provided the link if you would like to go in and read more, but from these I have gotten a lot of statistics and a lot of the barriers that I have discussed already. So one statistic that I want to read is in England, 9 out of 10 nurses are women, 3 out of 4 supervisors are men, and only 10% of surgeons are women. So that kind of shows the both sides of the medical field. Of course, there are men in the medical field. However, a lot of the men are doctors or surgeons, and the women are nurses. So that's interesting. that they only see a lot of people view doctors as males and nurses as females. Of course, we know that can be either way. But that statistics came from the very first article of Gender Discrimination Nursing by Katie Ancudda. So, moving on, my healthcare leader interview, I decided to go with Diane Decker. She is a very close family friend. She has her BSN degree and worked as an RN for many years at Lakeside Hospital. However, she recently switched positions and is now working in nursing management at Bergen Mercy Medical Center. But to highlight our interview, she told me that she has only worked with a handful of men that were nurses. And when I say handful, I mean under 10. But of course, she's worked with many doctors and they were all men, which proves that statistic that I just read. That men are in the medical field, but they are anything but the nurse. But of course, it's growing now. And now that she's in nursing management, she's had to deal with a lot of disagreements among nurses that regarded male versus female, and she's had to settle a lot of situations because, believe it or not, nurses do get in arguments every once in a while, like any other individual, and so she's had to handle that between the males and females on, or all of it. Okay. And then, in conclusion, simply my thoughts about my topic of men in nursing are that men should be in nursing and should not receive any flack for being a nurse and should not be stereotyped. And if so, we should just get rid of the stereotype. However, I think the reality is that men are just as capable of caring as women are. The potential to have the quality of caring is something that is rooted in us, in our skills that we learn growing up. Sorry, I'm just looking down at my notes here. However, to put this into perspective, let's say that we are taking care of a patient and they have family in the room, and you think about it, really, in many cases, all those family members are wanting is for their loved one to get better, to go home. Most of the time, they're not going to worry about if their nurse is a male or female. At that point, they're going to just want somebody to make them better so they can go home. That's what it comes down to, is healing and promoting life. And honestly, it's almost 2019. There is no better time to break a stereotype than it is right now, especially when it's one that can be very beneficial to the community and your loved ones. So that's my take on that. Men should be in nursing. Men, they are just as capable as women are, and hopefully that stereotype can break and men will not experience any barriers. And lastly, my references are here listed, so thank you very much for watching.